Right, okay, so what we have here is an oil pump from a Stag, and I've no reason to believe it doesn't work other than the fact that most things that I've taken apart so far have needed something doing to them. So I went online and bought a seal kit for the pump, which looks like it includes a magnet of some sort as well. So I'm guessing that might be inside the pump to catch any bits and pieces of material in the same way that you'd have it in the sump of an engine or gearbox. So we shall see, or maybe not. When I got this out of one of the many boxes of bits that I have for the Stag, it didn't have any plug on either the low pressure side or the high pressure side, so you know, it could well have got some stuff in it over time. It is empty. I've drained it. Just check it's got nothing left inside it, but I'm pretty sure. Oh no, Christ, here we go. Epic fail number one. Let's grab something to put that in. So the fluid that's coming out is full of bits, which is always nice to see. Lots of little black flecks of God knows what. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but yeah. So I think it's probably a good idea that this pump is being certainly cleaned and some seals replaced. Spin it and just see if anything else comes out. Right, I think that's probably got it. Let's get rid of that. Clean rag, or cleanish, cleaner. So, I've got the Triumph ROM, or Repair Operations Manual here. That's obviously a great source of information. And I also find this very useful. This is the original Triumph Stag parts catalogue from October '76, which has the exploded diagram as well as all the part numbers. Always very useful when you're trying to get hold of parts, to have that information available. So, see how much I have to refer to that. But so first things first, I need to remove the pulley. Got that 7/16 for that. I'm just going to give it a quick whiz off with this. Normally gets most pulley bolts off. There you go. Very useful tool. Let me have a washer. Not sure. Oh, there you go. I had the pullers ready just in case we needed them, but it looks like it's not going to be required. So that's the pulley. Put that over there, along with its corresponding nut and washer. Got a wood rough key there. We're probably going to need to remove that. Doesn't want to come out that easily. There you go. There you go. Right, so keys out. We've also got an oil seal here at the front. I think the way the pump comes apart is this couple of bolts on the back of it, screws, and then this I think should come out complete with a pressure valve. I'll start with that. Oh, only hand tight, so that's always a bit worrying. So I'm pretty sure that should be a little bit tighter than that. Okay, so we have a spring and a piston of some sort in there, and we also have more fluid. So let's tip and see what comes out. Right, there we go. So we have a spring and a piston and some rather manky looking old power steering fluid. Okay, so okay, piston. So I think that's probably a pressure relief valve or something along those lines. Get that start drinking fluid. Right, so I'm assuming that's the pressure relief valve, and there's no O-rings on it or anything so that I can see whether there should be. I just need to check on the ROM, but I think that's probably how it's supposed to be. Yeah, that looks right. I suspect this can be disassembled further. That is a nut on the end there, so there's probably some sort of ball bearing maybe and a spring inside that. Whether I go that far, but having seen the state of the fluid, I probably should. So we'll put that to one side for the moment and come back to that. This is then the cap with an O-ring that holds that all in place. Yeah, so that doesn't look too bad. I'm just gonna, obviously we've got an O-ring for that anyway, so we will change that when we reassemble it all. All this will get a good clean and check over to make sure that's okay. So that's the first thing. Then we seem to have, I'll push that to one side. So we have a stud here, which I believe is also holding it together, so it's double-ended, double-threaded. It's 11/16, so right, that's out. It looks like it's had a bit of punishment in the past, so we'll get that out. And then one more bolt here. I guess this could be, there's not much else left. Again, finger tight, not me, that's how it was. So obviously somebody's been in here. So that's all of the various bits there. Now I think where this has been painted with hammerite, whatever, hand painted by the looks of it, I wonder how easy it's going to be to get this apart, so this could get a little bit brutal. I can see this is bent up here, so it looks like somebody, and that's been art before, it's been painted since then. So that, no, that hollow noise is quite reassuring, as it sounds like something's ready to pop off, but I'm wondering whether I might have to use a puller on that. Not seeing any movement. If a tap in the right place down here might. That's what you want to hear. lots of movement. Oh. Ah, here we go. Lots of flakes of paint all over the place, but this will all get a thorough clean anyway. Right, so we've got another level here. Ball bearings, seals, seal in there, another seal here, another seal here, but there is definitely still some detritus in various parts of this. So yeah, I've got the casing obviously will need to be given a bit of a clean out, but that's all fine. So I'll put that to one side. Quite a lot of black gunk in here. Looks like we've probably got some sort of split ring in there, which yeah, it's going to be a case of removing that split ring, I think, to get inside the pump. And the question is, how far do we want to go? We need to go all the way based on the condition of the oil. I think what I'm going to do is give this a really good clean, so there's not too much rubbish floating around. Clean up the work area and then carry on. So I'm going to put you guys on hold for a minute while I get my head around what needs doing here and how to remove this. I think this is actually a piston of some sort, I don't know. God, it's just a cover, I think. Remove circlip, securing end plate. There you go. Shown using a screwdriver. A small hole is drilled in the body casing to permit the insertion of a pin punch or stiff wire. Okay, right, there you go. So we have a hole here to help lever the spring out. But in the pictures shown here, the spring is open here at this end. That opening is currently at that end, so what we're going to try and do probably is rotate the spring around so that the opening is near to the pin punch, so that you can then use that to flick out one end of the circlip. Right, so we're going to need a pin punch, and well, it looks like it's about 4mm. Small punch here, can go into here. Yeah, so we can use that. But at the moment we need to work out a way of tapping this around, I think. So I'm just going to use the punch at the end of it. That's fine. So I'm just rotating the spring. I might not even need to use a hammer to do this. No, it does need a little bit of persuasion. Let's see if we can do it better that way. It's got a bit stiffer now. It's going to do a little bit more work to get that around than I thought. Right, so keep going. Further, whereabouts are we? So the pin is about here, so we just need to go a little bit further. Okay, so we're just about where the hole is now. thing's going to get cleaned, so I'll worry about that later. I need to stop while we're getting this done. So I think the idea being that now that that's there you go. You can push the spring in with the pin punch, and then I assume this is probably going to spring in straight into my face. There you go. That's relatively straightforward. Just ease it out. Wasn't too scary. Okay, so we have a spring which sits in the middle. Then obviously this cover would have sat on top of that, locking it into place. We have a O-ring, it looks like a seal, it's obviously the sealing face against that. And then in here we have the back of the pump. Again, more bits and pieces in here as well, so we need to keep going and get rid of all this and get it cleaned. Oh, there we go. I wouldn't describe that as carefully, but it's going to go one way, isn't it? So there's the pressure plate. Just going to look and see if there's any particular orientation here on this. I don't think so. Doesn't seem to have any kind of tabs or locking mechanism. I would imagine that probably does have to go in a certain way, but I don't know, we'll find out as we go along. Right, okay, so yeah. So what you have to do is make sure you line these up with there's pins in here. That's it. So once this is obviously the pressure plate. You've got two pins here which locate the actual pump, and those pins also locate the pressure plate. There you go. So that's how it goes back together again. So we'll just gently remove that, put that to one side. So that side faces down into the pump, and I will turn this over and withdraw the rotor. Oh, wait a minute. Right, so I didn't really want that to all come out in one go, but okay, it has. Right, what I'm going to do, okay, those pins have just dropped straight through, but I can see that you've got a rounded face on that and a flat face. The rounded face goes towards the outside, so that should be back in there. This has got the grooved and marked bit here, so that will obviously go in a certain orientation. Which way round it goes, I'm not sure at the moment, but we're going to leave that there and pull the shaft out. So there's your shaft. Okay, it's not quite as scary as I thought. So you've got the flat sort of blades of the pump. Have a rounded edge on the outside and a flat edge on the inside, and that flat edge is what you want to make sure goes back in if, like me, one falls out. I'm going to probably remove all of these anyway, but there you can see it's flat on that side and then it's rounded on that side, obviously where it's going to be hitting, it's going to be rotating against the pump housing. So I'll put those back there just to remind me at the moment how they all go. We've got an O-ring here, or a seal of some sort, I think. No, maybe not. And then obviously the shaft. I'm not sure if this is going to come away easily, or I should just leave that as it is at the moment. And I'm guessing we've got a circlip here at the end, so that circlip can be removed. I think we'll probably do that as we get into this thing a bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push that to one side. Try not to dislodge too many of the blades. But the actual mechanical faces of the pump all seem smooth. I'm not seeing any grooves or any wear, so to speak, that stands out. So leave that over there. Then we have the 2 pins that locate everything, easily removed. The other one is what fell out when we pulled it out. So they're easily removed, just put those to one side. Now we've just got the pump body. There's 2 fairly hefty O-rings there, which we're going to change, and I'm going to give it a good clean. So the biggest O-ring being this one here. So we've got all these O-rings in the pack. We have a magnet, and I still don't know quite where that's supposed to go. I'm not seeing one in there. I'm wondering whether it's been added in as something that's going to be added a day actually. So I'm just going to continue doing some more stuff here. So I've removed a couple of the oil seals. There's 2 in this body here. You've got 2 grooves at the top. One is for the circlip, obviously, that seals the cap in, and then the second one down is for a seal, and then you've got a third one further into the pump, which is the second seal. They both look the same size, and we've got 2 of those in the pack. Then you have the super large seal here. I'm not going to be too careful about getting that off cleanly because it's going to be replaced anyway. So there's a big seal, and then finally we have the oil seal at the front, and for that I have a tool that I recently purchased that I saw being used on another YouTube video, so I think I'm going to give it a go. It looks pretty handy in a fight, but it's a pretty gruesome looking thing, something quite medieval about it, I think. And then it obviously hooks underneath the seal, and you've got a couple of different options here. I think this is probably the best one for this application. And then it's just a case of, there you go, easy as that. Just hooks under the seal, and you can just lever out the seal. Obviously the seal's destroyed in the process, but why would you want to put back in a used seal? So that now gives me a nice clean pump body. There's a couple of oil ways I think that I'm going to make sure are cleaned out and blown out with the air gun. There's a bushing in there with what looks like a sort of spiral cut into it, and that's obviously to draw the oil up the shaft as the shaft is spinning, keep it lubricated. I'm not going to remove any of that because I think those are all pressed in bushes. There's no need to remove those. I don't think there's any wear that I need to be worried about there. I can see inside and it all looks fairly clear to me. So now I'll do what I said I was going to do, give it a clean, and then we can get back together and reassemble. Oh, right, okay. Freezing cold. Garage is only marginally above freezing cold with the fan heater going. So I've got the power steering pump, cleaned up, gave it a lick of paint, and cleaned out all the sort of internals. So it's basically had some hammerite, brushed on hammerite before, which I just used paint stripper to remove, then gave it a bit of wire wheel where it wasn't going to be a problem, like the outside of that. Obviously masked off all the various openings and bolt holes and everything else. Gave it all a good clean, and it's come up nicely. There's no signs of wear and tear to be concerned about. Used some extra primer on this and then some undercoat, and gave it a coat of satin black. So I've got the seal kit from, I think it was LD Parts. So that comes with all the seals you need for the pump, including the oil seal at the front, and also a few extra seals, because I think that kit is designed for more than one application. I think it also mentions on their website Jaguar and Nissan, weirdly enough. So there are a few seals left over, but it was easy to identify what I needed because I did keep all the old seals here rather than throw them away. So I knew what I was replacing. So we've got the 2 seals there. We've got the main seal for the that goes into the housing, and then we have these little seals which go here on the back There's 3 there, and then we have the O-ring, which goes onto the housing for the pressure relief valve. So I might as well just quickly put that one on. I've got some ATF fluid here to put it all back together with, so I'll use a bit of that when I'm assembling. And get some of these O-rings back in place. It's very cold, and all these bits of rubber are going to be a little bit stiffer as a result of that. So just hook that over and pull it into its place, into its slot. Right, that's that one. Assuming that's the way it goes. So I'm going to start with the oil seal on the front here and just check. So I have some of this Rheinsoil, Rheinzil, I call it. So Victor Rhines, this is just general purpose, high temperature gasket sealant, and generally very handy stuff to have around when it comes to fitting these kind of things and other types of gasket. It's a good belt and braces. I mean, I don't know if there's specifically any requirement to put this on. There's no mention of it in the ROM, but why not? It'll help it slide in and give a little bit of extra protection from leaking. Not that I believe that is a particular issue on these seals in these pumps. Just plonk that there. It's cold. Got a bit of metal bar stop here, which is about the right size for drifting this back in. Just make sure it's lined up nice and straight. That's gone in nice and straight. Let's give it a few more taps to get it down all the way. Make sure that's gone down far enough on that side. Okay, so I've got the front oil seal in. So it's slightly below the surface there, so it needs just tapping down until it gets down to the point where it hits the shoulder below. So the next step is to fit the shaft, and obviously with the rotor on it. Just going to balance that with something there. I think I'm probably going to wait until well actually no, I can put all the blades in now. Obviously making sure that the curved face of the blade faces outwards, and then it's a case of just filling that in. Right, there you go. So blades are all in, and looking at that, they all sit smoothly. I'm guessing as that spins, the blades are actually, because at the moment they're below the surface of the rotor here, but I'm assuming as centrifugal force kicks in, they'll get thrown out, and that's how the pumping mechanism works. So we have our two location dowels which have holes down inside the pump. So just put one of those in there. And the other one in there. Now, as far as this is concerned, I don't think it's handed. So you've got the holes there that go over the location dowels, and I don't think it matters which way around it goes. It doesn't seem to be, it's symmetrical whichever way. So yeah, what I am going to do though is just get a little bit of ATF in there. ATF on the shaft. Go through the oil seal. Literally falls through on its own, which is fine. Way. There you go. So that's now located. So the next step is this ring. Now interestingly, this ring has got a marking on it. I don't know if you can see that. It's like a half arrow on the side. That needs to go to the rear, so that needs to be facing out towards the rear of the pump, and then locates over the dowels. Just making sure there's nothing on it. When it comes to hydraulics, I think any slightest amount of grit or dust is going to cause problems. There you go, so that's just slid down in there. So I'm just going to liberally give everything a nice coating of ATF around it. So you can see there that's fitted. So obviously as it spins round to that point, then that vane will be thrown out all the way to the side there, and then brought back in as it comes round. So that is the pumping motion as the vanes get brought back in and then thrown back out. So if I bring that down there and push that one out manually, you can see it's all the way down, and then as it comes in here, it gets pushed back in again. So that's the that is the concentric ring, I think it's called. Then we have this part. Again, I'm not seeing any kind of specific direction of installation for that. So before I put that in though, I am going to fit this seal down into here. So this is one of the oil seals. There's two. You've got the top groove for retaining the cap, then there's another seal just below that, and then a second seal just below that. So I'm just going to get this one in here. Probably should have done this to start with, so there you go. Okay, so that oil seal's in, that O-ring. I'm just going to put the other one in as well because I don't want to miss doing that at this point in time and then find I can't do it later on. The easiest way to do this is just to get it in place in one bit and then use your finger to hold it there while you feed it in around the rest of the pump. So that's all in. The plate. So this plate goes with the embossed side, as they call it, facing downwards. So just give this a little bit of oil. Line it up on the dowels. Right, so once it's all the way down, the dowels should both just be standing proud of that surface there. There you go. Okay. You can have a look through and just check that all your blades are still in place, which they are. Just getting plenty of oil in there. So next we have the spring. Okay, now there's probably a really simple and clever technique for doing this. I will just check the ROM just to see if they offer any advice. They generally aren't that forthcoming. Fit circlip to pump body and release end plate. Right, so yeah, not much help there. I'm wondering if there's a way of maybe even pre-tensioning this plate. To help get the ring in before. Okay, I've actually got a bit of spring in there. So get it started. Push. Pump down as you go round. Push the plate in. That seems a bit too easy. Okay, so the spring's kind of engaged. It hasn't gone in all the way yet, so I'm going to push the pump down now. Again, there you go. The ring is now in place. Okay, let's take that back to the table. Now I'm going to install this O-ring, which is just to seal the body of the pump to the case. Let's go with a bit of the old ATV around that, give it a good smear, help it go in. Oh, getting out of the pump there. No harm in having a bit of that splurged around the place though, because ultimately that's what the whole thing's going to be full of once it's running. So before I put the cover on, I've got an O-ring here. It's more of a sort of square section seal, and then two more identical smaller ones that just seal here. Just make sure there's plenty of oil, ATV oil, ATF, sorry, ATV, what do I keep saying ATV? ATF oil around these. And then it's a case of sliding on the case. So just checking I'm not missing anything here before I do this. No, it's fine. So just check that's lined up. That looks good. So I will gradually ease that in by hand. It's probably going to take a bit more than my hand to do this, I think. Oh, yeah, there you go. Unfortunately, this nut is a little bit damaged. So there you go. So that's now back in place. So now we can put the housing for the pressure relief valve in. Again, more of this ATF. So first of all we have a spring. Spring goes in there. Oh no, is it the other way around? Sorry. The spring first, followed by the PRV. And then finally it's all secured in place with that nut. Oh, slippery hands, butterfingers. Right, there you go. I didn't do much talking because frankly I was trying to work it out myself on the way through. Obviously we've still got to get the pulley on and the key, but that should be a relatively straightforward task. So we've got our key here. Get that in there. Just gave that a little tap. That, so that's now bedded in. Then obviously pulley back on. I'm not sure actually. So I'm going to use the nut without the washer to start with, just to pull the pulley on to the pulley's bedded down all the way. Just remove the nut. The reason I did that without the washer was I wasn't going to be able to get enough threading into the nut to bring it all the way on. Still think there's a bit more pulley to get on there. Yeah. There you go. That's gone all the way. Okay, so that's the pump reassembled. I guess there have been a few lessons learned on this one. Before I recorded this, I had a go at putting the oil seal in the front of the pump, and I managed to damage the oil seal putting it in. I used a socket to try and drift it in. The socket obviously has got wasn't a particularly great fit, a little bit too small, damaged the oil seal, kind of compressed the centre of it. So I then had to order another oil seal, but in order to get hold of one I had to order a whole kit because I could not for the life of me find that sized oil seal. It's something like 1 inch and 5/16 and 5/16 of an inch thick, so it's a bit of a weird size, or well, probably not weird, but just very difficult to get hold of. So I ended up having to order another set of seals from Rimmers just for that one seal, so it cost me 20 quid or something for nothing. So that was one lesson learnt. Got a bit carried away with the hydraulic press, as it were. So yeah, otherwise it all went together pretty smoothly. It's really not that complicated if you just follow the ROM, and this can now go on the shelf waiting to go onto the engine. So another part successfully cleaned up and made ready. There you go.